With the Pixel 10 series of devices being the first mainstream Android device to adopt Qi2 compatibility, that means there is a ring just like this inside the device itself. I think that these MagSafe or Pixel Snap Qi compatible accessories are only going to get more and more popular. And with that in mind, in this video, we're going to take a look at some of my favorite Qi2 accessories. As you can see here, on my Galaxy Z Fold 7, I have attached this ring from a company called ESR. This thing is pretty inexpensive, and it was very, very easy for me to install. In case you're wondering, this is a D-brand leather skin, and I just stuck it to the outside of it. I could have put it down and then put the skin on top of it, but I thought that might look weird, so I just stuck it on top. And the way that I did this was actually really kind of simple. So I took this MagSafe battery bank from Pitaka, and I took my little magnetic ring, and I stuck it on there, aligned correctly. You know, you kind of want to get it on there exactly right. I peeled that off, and I just stuck it to the back of my Z Fold 7 in a position where it was lined up perfectly, and I felt the charging begin to happen. And then I just gave it some pressure, and I slid it off, and that is exactly where it now lives. And that, like I said, worked perfectly. And since I've already got this thing out here, we'll talk about this. I've got quite a few different battery banks. In fact, I'm going to be reviewing another one, I think sometime in September from Ugreen that looks really, really good. But I think this one is still my favorite. This is 5,000 milliamp hours, which isn't huge. Considering this is a 4,400 milliamp hour battery, you kind of get the general idea. But what I love about it is that when you stick it on the back of your device, it isn't adding all that much thickness to it. I can stick this in my pocket and not really think much about it. Now, on my Z Fold 7, it just barely does line up well enough for this to work. And really, it probably should be over and up just a little bit, so there is a little bit of inefficiency here, so you're probably not going to get the full 5,000 milliamp hours going into this device, but it still is enough to charge the phone. I've used this many different times now. I just put it back in my pocket as I'm going about my day, and the phone is charging. Of course, on a device like a Pixel, you do have a whole lot more space, and that's how that's actually going to look. And it, again, works really, really well. There are some bigger battery banks out there that charge faster, but this one is probably my favorite at the moment. In terms of grips, I have a ton of different grips that all do basically the same thing. We have ones like this that can spin around and they have a nice little thing to hold on to. We have ones like this, which are very, very similar to that. This is another version from Pitaka that is a little bit thicker because it folds up and then it actually can fold out again to be like a stand. I think that's a really cool idea as well. We have this one from Tango, which is very, very low profile. It's the thinnest of all of them. If all you need is basically a grip, I think that that's a really nice way to go. But I do like having something that can be a grip and also a stand. Let me quickly mention here, because I forgot to in the video, the Tango grip can actually be a stand. There's a little set of grooves inside, you can probably see there, and you can basically stick the thing inside that groove and then use it as a stand. Unfortunately, that doesn't work with folding phones, with these larger phones, and depending on the positioning of your MagSafe ring, it may not work on slab phones either. The one I'm about to show you works on pretty much everything I've tried it on. I've kind of fallen back to this one from Fiberborn, which is the same company as Thinborn or Leatherborn. I don't know if they're still selling this. If they are, I'm going to put a link to it in the description down below. But what I love about it is when you snap it in place, it has a series of ball bearings, which means it can rotate to any orientation. You pop this thing out, and now you have a little ring to hold onto your phone with. But if you want to use it as a stand, it pops out again even further, and you can use it as a stand if you're using a foldable. No problem there either. You can have it in either orientation. It's strong enough to hold it up no matter which way you go. So for me, the flexibility of this thing is absolutely awesome. That is probably my favorite, that or the Tango, just depending on which way I want to go, kind of how I'm feeling in that moment. But they're both really, really good, and neither one add a ton of bulk to your device. Quickly, let me show you one more grip that wasn't included with the rest because it actually just came in. I didn't have it when I was filming that section of the video. It just got delivered, and this is a PopSocket that is MagSafe compatible, and I actually think I really like this too. One small caveat, one thing that I had to do to this to make this work a bit better. When I first got this thing out and stuck it to the back of the device, I thought, well, this is quite cool. You can actually use it as a stand when you're in your phone mode, when you're in tablet mode, not quite so much, but still, you know, it should be a pretty decent little grip for this phone. But then I went to take the thing off, and oh my Lord, is that magnet unbelievably strong. I could barely get the thing off. So what I did, it actually came with a little ring that you would adhere to your device if you needed to do that. What I did is I took off the adhesive cover, I flipped it around, and I stuck it onto the PopSocket itself to weaken the magnetic connection. Don't get me wrong, it is still more than strong enough, but now I can actually take the thing off relatively easily, whereas before it was absolutely locked tight in place. But yeah, one more quick grip that I think works pretty well. So this next one is something that I actually made an entire video talking about, and it is something that is 3D printed, and I think it's really, really cool. You can see that I didn't do the best job of printing this, but I don't care because it works perfectly. What it uses is this little MagSafe wireless charging puck, which is from Anker. They come in a 2-pack on Amazon. You can probably find a 1-pack, but I bought a 2-pack. And it sticks in there, and your cable routes through the back and underneath, and you plug the thing in, and it acts as a stand and a wireless charger for the Z Fold 7. I'll put a link in the description to the page on printables where you can print one of these yourself. You can also buy one from the creator, the person who actually made this. It's so good. I don't have it plugged into a power source to actually charge this, but I'll show you how this works. This is where my phone goes all the time. I just stick it on here, and it lines itself up automatically with that MagSafe ring. You can see it actually kind of floats a little bit based on how I have mine positioned, but you can just set it in there, and that's fine too. And that device is charging. I plugged it into a battery bank so that you can see it actually charging. What I love about this stand is the versatility. This is a Pixel 9 Pro XL, and it is charging. I can take this thing off of here and put my Z Fold 7 down, and it is wirelessly charging. I can take it off and with a little bit of modification, put like literally just set a pin down there just to elevate it a little bit, and my Pixel 9 Pro Fold will actually charge as well. I really, really enjoy this thing because no matter what device I'm using, I can probably drop my device on there and wirelessly charge it, but it also acts as a stand, which means I can just kind of have my stuff sitting here like this, and I can be using my phone or have it, you know, playing media, whatever it might be. It's at a good angle, and it's charging. Just a really cool accessory. This next one is something that when I saw it, I thought that seems really, really cool. And then I got it, and at first I thought, oh, this is not nearly as cool as I was hoping. But then it flipped back around, and now I actually really, really like this thing. This is a speaker from a company called Edifier. I've actually reviewed some of their products in the past, and it is MagSafe. It will snap onto the back of your MagSafe compatible device just like that. And it's just a Bluetooth speaker. It doesn't connect through this like an NFC connection or anything like that. You do actually just have to manually pair it. We'll turn it on here quickly, and you'll see power on. It's got some LED lights in there. Device connected. So we are off and running. So, okay, so I attached this thing to this, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. So now my Z Fold 7, which has decent speakers, but nothing amazing. Now it has what should be an amazing speaker. But then there's a problem that immediately arose when I started using this. How do you what do you set it down? Now it's like standing up like this. It's like way off the ground, and then that's kind of going to muffle the speaker a little bit. I'm just looking at this thinking, this doesn't really make as much sense as I thought it would. I'll play some music here. Let's do like half volume because it's going to be really loud otherwise. Just so you can kind of hear what it's like. And I'll move it around so that you can tell kind of what I'm talking about with it being muffled. So you can see that, when it's sitting like this, it's just not that great. So what's the point of it being attached to the back of the device? So you can tell there, why I would have been excited, but then less excited. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be attached to the back of your device. It's magnetic, so it can be attached anywhere. I've had this thing in the kitchen, and I'll just stick it to the refrigerator while I'm listening to a video or whatever it might be. I've been outside, and I've stuck it to the pole I've got one of those, like an outside table with one of those umbrella things. I stuck it to the pole for the umbrella, and it's right there as well, and it's loud enough that as I'm playing with my dogs, I can hear exactly what I'm listening to out in the backyard. Think of it more like just a little, like pretty good quality Bluetooth speaker that can be attached to your phone, so you don't lose it, or it can be attached to like anything that's metal, and it actually does sound pretty good. It's just a cool little flexible speaker that you can just, stick to the back of your phone if you want to. So this thing is pretty cool, and I do mean that with the pun fully intended. This is from a company called Black Shark, and what this is, if I'm not mistaken, it is a Peltier effect cooler. This thing attaches to the back of your device. You do, unfortunately, need to supply it with some form of power. We'll use my PopSocket battery bank here quickly to do that. That should work just fine. And you can see it lights up, the fan starts blowing, but what happens is the bottom of this thing right here gets extremely cold. Actually, let's see exactly how cold this gets. So I pulled up my FLIR camera, and you can see it is 22, 23 degrees. That is very cold, and I've actually got it like facing down. I just lifted it off the table. We'll see if it gets any colder than that. Looks like it's actually going up, but still under freezing, under 30 degrees. So when this thing is attached to the back of your device, the idea is the back of your device is going to stay a little bit cooler, actually quite a bit cooler than it would have otherwise. And if you're gaming or, rendering video, whatever it might be, that's going to have a real effect. How real of an effect, you might be asking? Well, I stuck this thing onto my Pixel 9 Pro XL, and I ran some tests. So this was the first test without the cooler installed. You can see 2600 and 2300 for best loop and lowest loop. 86.3% was the stability, but importantly, the temperature went from 25 to 43 degrees Celsius. I let it cool down. I attached the cooler, and now we are at best loop 2689. Lowest loop was 2682. Performance just did not drop at all. Granted, it's a Pixel and it's a Tensor G4, so performance wasn't phenomenal regardless. But the stability went up to 99.7%. Look at the temperature, from 25 Celsius to 34 Celsius. That is a huge reduction in that accumulation of heat for this device, and that allowed it to stay so much more stable than it did before. We'll swap out my S25, which was actually filming for my Z Fold 7, and you can see where I ran the same tests here. Best loop was 6721, lowest was 3881. That's the one you really want to look for, is that lowest loop score and the stability. Lowest loop went from 38 to 44, almost 45, and stability went up from 57% to 69%. Let's look at that temperature. It peaked at 40 degrees with the cooler on. It peaked at 28 degrees. That is how much cooler that was actually able to stay. I think I said 69%. I meant 66% if that was indeed a mistake that I made. So this thing is genuinely keeping your device cooler, and if you are gaming for long periods of time, I think that this could be a really cool, again, pun intended, accessory to use. It does add a little bit of weight, and you will need to have it plugged into some kind of a power source while you're gaming, but again, for the right person, this thing makes a lot of sense. So guys, even though I very rarely use just like a regular charging puck like you always seem to see in advertisements for MagSafe and things like that, I think that's like the least useful thing that this thing does, because if you're going to pick up a thing with a cable and stick it on the back, why not just plug something in and make it charge faster? I think that makes much more sense when it's in a stand that you can set your device into that automatically aligns itself. It's a stand and it's charged. I think that makes much more sense. And I also think that the accessories that I just detailed in this video also make quite a bit of sense. But I want to hear from you in those comments. Give me an accessory that I did not mention that you have found that you think is actually very useful as well. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.